start now with our top story. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says it is time for the world to recognize Pakistan as an essential partner for peace in Afghanistan. The UN chief said it is now Kabul's obligation to establish peace for refugees' safe return. More on that now in this report.
The Secretary General of the UN and its refugee agency chief are in Pakistan to mark 4 decades of millions of Afghan refugees hosted by Pakistan. Guterres said Pakistan's treatment of millions of Afghan refugees has been recognized as a global model, but the international support has been woefully underwhelming.
We must recognize that international support for Pakistan has been minimal compared to your own national efforts. As we look to the challenges ahead, the global community must step up.
Speaking at the conference, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan said compassion overruled the country's economic challenges when it came to hosting Afghan refugees. Khan said growing global Islamophobia has limited the options of refugees fleeing death and destruction.
The refugees are suffering because they are refugees, and on top of it, they face the xenophobia in so many influential, affluent, rich countries. On top of it, we have this new phenomena after 9/11, Islamophobia. Islamophobia compounds the miseries of Muslim refugees.
UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi stressed that the world needs to step up its support for refugees in Pakistan. He did not mince words while acknowledging the cost Pakistan has had to pay.
The history of Pakistan's solidarity with Afghan refugees, which we honor today, shows that generosity has not come without cost. Hosting millions of refugees, it has an impact on local economies, on infrastructure, on services, on security, on the environment.
Later, the UN dignitaries held a joint press conference with Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi. They all agreed that there is an opportunity for peace in Afghanistan, which, if missed, would amount to betrayal to the people of Afghanistan.
U.S. Special Envoy to Afghanistan Zalmay Khalilzad has said Washington wants better ties with Pakistan. Speaking at the International Refugee Conference in Islamabad, he said peace in Afghanistan will play a major role for bilateral ties. Khalilzad said Afghan stability will open new economic opportunities for Pakistan. The envoy said the U.S. is trying to strike a peace deal because it does not want to repeat the mistake of the 90s of leaving Pakistan all at once. He said Pakistan's Prime Minister, Army Chief, and the whole top leadership is on the same page over Afghan peace. The envoy said despite all the challenges, Washington is cautiously optimistic over ongoing talks with the Taliban in Doha. Well, Afghanistan is the source of one of the largest refugee populations in the world today. For the past 40 years, most of this burden has been borne by Pakistan. As Afghan leaders and senior UN officials have met in Islamabad to discuss a solution to the problem, refugees have expressed their doubts about the peace process. But they still say they want to return to their homeland. More in this report.
A short drive away from the Serena Hotel in Islamabad, with top officials from the UN and Kabul are discussing the future of Afghan refugees, 20-year-old Ahmad Khan Yunus lives in a makeshift settlement. He was born in Pakistan to Afghan parents, but still dreams of returning to his true home one day.
It will be very good if peace returns to our country, if a truce is made with the Taliban and stability returns to our land. Then we can go from here to our country. We want to study there. We want to spend happy, peaceful lives there.
With the US-Taliban peace deal imminent, finding a solution to the refugee problem has never been more important. Many refugees say they would be willing to return to their home country even if the Taliban return to power.
It's all right if the Taliban return. They are Muslims, they are our brothers. They don't do anything illegal, they follow Islamic law.
Refugees complain they have little say in today's discussions and have their doubts about the Afghan peace process. Nonetheless, they still hope for a better future.
It is my wish and hope and my desire that peace and harmony should return, but it seems very difficult that it will happen in Afghanistan. But we do have hopes that reconciliation will occur, and God willing, it will happen.
The influx of refugees into Pakistan began with the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979. There are approximately 2.7 million of them living in Pakistan today.
India has once again rejected the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres' offer to mediate between Delhi and Islamabad on the Kashmir issue. Speaking in Islamabad yesterday, Guterres said he is ready to help if both countries agree to mediation. India's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the issue is bilateral and there is no role or scope for third-party mediation. In a meeting with Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, Guterres called on India to respect human rights in the valley. Foreign Minister Qureshi conveyed Pakistan's deep concern over the curfew and communications blockade in the valley. Well, New Delhi has also denied British parliamentarian and chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Kashmir, Debbie Abraham's entry into occupied Kashmir. Strongly criticizing the BJP government's move, the MP said India treated her like a criminal and took her to the deportee cell. The lawmaker said Indian authorities told her that her visa, valid for October 2020, has been rejected. Abraham said she tried to ask the reason for the visa rejection and if she could get a visa on arrival, but no one answered her. The MP said she had written to the Indian envoy in the UK expressing concerns on the Article 370 move. The Syrian government says it has seized most of Aleppo province as it advances its campaign to recapture Idlib. Witnesses say Syrian forces took control of 29 villages and small towns in the north and northwest of Aleppo city. State media said the government army units were pushing further to advance around the city. It said the drive aims to bolster security in Syria's second largest city of Aleppo. Last week, Syrian forces seized control of the strategic M5 highway, which connects the capital Damascus to Aleppo. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has expressed concern over the situation in Idlib. In a phone call with the Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, Trump said he will like to see Russia ceasing its support for the Syrian government. Turkey claims the Kurdistan Workers' Party has killed 3 people in a car bomb attack in northern Syria. The Defense Ministry said 5 people were wounded in the blast in the Tel Abyad district. The ministry said the perpetrator was captured alive along with another terrorist who came to the area for a second attack. It said the PKK continues to kill innocent civilians in the country. The town of Tel Abyad has been held by Turkish forces and Syrian proxies since Ankara launched a military operation against Kurdish militia last October. I'll be back after this break with plenty more news. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Yemen's government coalition says it has killed 18 Houthi rebels in the northern province of Al Jawf. State media said the armed rebels were shot dead as they attempted to infiltrate a military zone. This came as the UN has confirmed Yemen's warring sides have agreed to implement a major prisoner swap. In a statement, the UN envoy to Yemen, Martin Griffith, said both sides will immediately begin exchanging prisoner lists for the release. The announcement follows 7 days of meetings in Amman between Houthi rebels and the internationally recognized government. Yemen has been beset by violence and chaos since 2014, when Houthis overran much of the country, including the capital, Sana'a. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel's commercial flights have started using Sudan's airspace. Earlier this month, Khartoum said it had given Israeli planes initial approval to fly over its territory. Netanyahu said the new air corridor is the result of a breakthrough meeting with the Sudanese head of the ruling council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, in Uganda. Netanyahu said the flight marks a step towards normalization of ties with Arab and Muslim countries.
Accumulation of power creates a new approach to Israel. And you mentioned that, Arthur. You see it in the Arab world, you go there. I've been developing contacts with the Arab countries and Muslim countries.
Well, Israel previously considered Sudan a security threat as it suspected Iran used Khartoum for smuggling munitions into the Gaza Strip. In other news coming out of China, 105 more people have died there over the past 24 hours from the new coronavirus, putting the death toll at nearly 1,800. The National Health Commission says over 70,000 have been infected across the country, with 2,048 new cases emerging. More on that now in this report.
As the Chinese government scrambles to contain the coronavirus outbreak, restrictions have been further tightened in Hubei province. Elsewhere, Americans have begun to disembark a cruise ship quarantined in the Japanese port of Yokohama. People entering the United States will be kept in quarantine for 14 days. The World Health Organization says China has done a great job dealing with the crisis.
The world truly appreciates that, and we appreciate the bravery and courage of your health workers who have demonstrated extraordinary professionalism in the face of a dangerous virus.
Showing their confidence the risk is passing, multinational companies such as L'Oreal and Toyota Boshoku are reopening their facilities.
All our employees in Shanghai are active to return to work. In addition, most of our 50 Japanese workers are in Shanghai. We believe we should go through this difficult time with China together.
The disease is now present in at least 28 other countries, with nearly 700 infections and 5 deaths outside mainland China.
Let's remain in China. Authorities there continue to limit public activities in an effort to contain the novel coronavirus. This has turned online fitness classes into the latest trend as people try to stay in shape. This report has the details.
Zhang Huaya owns a successful high-end gym in Beijing, but has faced a severe financial setback because of the virus outbreak. Faced with the prospect of shutting their business down, she turned to giving classes online.
For the gyms that have high rent, it's a big hit. 1/10 of our annual income is gone. But I'm a positive person, and on the positive side, if people cultivated the habit of doing online fitness and were willing to pay for it, there might be another kind of income in the future.
Huaya's business move paid off, and appointments for her online classes are completely booked. Her clients say since they're cooped up in their homes, this is the only way they can get any exercise.
Before the outbreak, I was playing sports every day. I gained a lot of weight after giving birth to my child, but I have high demands for myself. During the outbreak, I can't go to the gym or train outside. So, I follow some trainers online and exercise at home.
The new coronavirus, thought to have emerged in a wildlife market in Wuhan City, has presented a huge challenge to the world's second largest economy.
U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to cut off intelligence sharing with countries using equipment supplied by China's Huawei. The U.S. ambassador to Germany, Richard Grenell, says Trump phoned him from Air Force One to convey the message. At the Munich Security Conference, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called Huawei a Trojan horse for Chinese intelligence. Last week, a U.S. indictment charged Huawei with the theft of intellectual property. Key U.S. allies in Europe, especially Britain and France, have said they will not stop Huawei from building 5G networks, but will impose restrictions. Well, the 56th Munich Security Conference ended without consensus on Westlessness, the theme of this year's summit. Divided on issues from Libya to Venezuela and even the EU's future, Western leaders failed to speak with one voice on many issues. This report explains.
Leaders and diplomats from Europe, Middle East and the US arrived in Munich for a 3-day summit to shore up commitments and help coordinate Western defense policies. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier accused Washington, China and Russia of stoking global mistrust and insecurity with a great powers competition threatening new nuclear arms race. German president also took a swipe at US president, noting Washington under the present administration rejects the idea of an international community.
And our closest ally, the United States of America, under the present administration itself, rejects the idea of an international community, as if an attitude each man for himself could already be world politics, as if everyone was taken care of when everyone only cares for themselves. Great again, even at the expense of neighbors and partners.
China ist im Zuge eines
French president said Europe can't continue to be a junior partner to USA and called for greater sovereignty and freedom for Europe. President Emmanuel Macron said Europe is becoming a continent that doesn't believe in its future and highlighted disagreements with allies.
Je le crois très profondément.
If we have no freedom to act, then we have no credibility in foreign policy, and we can't be a junior partner to the United States of America. Because sometimes we have disagreements that we have to accept. On Iran, we have disagreements. If we haven't found financial or economic and military sovereignty, then we can't have a proper foreign policy.
À taux d'intérêt bas ou quasi nul.
The conference concluded with security experts noting West's carelessness towards Sahel region until it causes migrant exodus towards EU countries.
Gunmen have killed 22 people, including 14 children, in Cameroon. The UN said unknown armed men carried out the bloodshed in the village of Nutumbo in the northwest region. The UN said a pregnant woman and several children under the ages of 5 and 18 are among those killed. Separatists in the regions have been fighting the central government for 3 years. The conflict between Anglophone forces seeking to break away from Cameroon has claimed over 3,000 lives. Opposition parties are blaming the country's army for the massacre. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, 14 people have died when a lorry collided with other vehicles and hit pedestrians in the capital, Kinshasa. Police say 24 others were injured. Kinshasa Public Security Chief Miguel Bagaya said the accident happened when the vehicle's brakes failed. The Health Ministry said the government will provide quality treatment to every victim. Interior Minister Gilbert Kankonde said the government will crack down on speeding vehicles on the capital's busy roads. In Peru, 8 fans of an Ecuadorian football club have died in a crash in Piura province. Officials say a bus carrying the fans went off a road and fell into a ravine near the town of Los Organos. 37 others were injured in the accident. The crash occurred as fans were returning from a Copa Libertadores fixture. Fatal traffic accidents are frequent in Peru because of dangerous roads. Let's begin with Japan, where the economy there has shrunk at its fastest rate in 5 years at the end of last year. A rise in sales taxes, a major typhoon, and weak global demand have all been blamed. The annualized gross domestic product fell by a worse than expected 6.3% in October to December. During that period, Japanese consumer spending reversed by 2.9% after the sales tax went up in October by 2%. In the last quarter, capital spending dropped by 3.7% and exports slipped marginally during the ongoing U.S.-China trade war. There are also concerns the coronavirus outbreak will mean the slump continues into this quarter. That has raised fears the world's third biggest economy may fall into recession. Time now to find out what the weather is like around the world. And there you have it. You're all caught up. Thank you for watching this bulletin here on Business.